And good morning, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin, and welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff Lives. And this morning, first Monday of this week, I just wanted to have a little chat with you guys about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks with McDuff Lives and all the great research that's going on. Terms of, I want to ask you what you guys want to see in the future. And let's start off though with just a little housekeeping announcement. I want to let you all know that I'm not going to do an 11 o'clock show for the rest of this particular week. I'll be back next week with 11 o'clock shows, but because I have the great pleasure of having Andy DeBala here working with me, and because we've got about 10 or 12 big plastic boxes full of unorganized archive material that I need to organize for preparing my book about my dad, I'm going to take advantage of Andy's presence and not do 11 o'clock shows this week except for today. So I hope you will excuse me for a few days from 11 o'clock shows. I'll probably be back on either Saturday or Monday, depending upon how much work Andy and I can get done. Hey, David, good to see you. Hi, Carol M. Up in Oregon, and we saw you on Twitter this morning with your books, your bouquet of George Webb books, and what a great thing to have a bouquet of. Hello, ECAT. Hello, everyone else that's here in the chat, and we're doing some experimenting with lighting and moving things around, trying to keep it interesting here at the show. And it's a pleasure to have George Webb here so often too. He and I get to chat a little bit before and after the show, and enjoy catching up with him. His work goes at light speed. He's so fast, and putting out 8 or 9 books in 6 months. I really can't believe that somebody could do that, but there he is, taking care of business on YouTube and. Yeah, on YouTube with the Neighborhood News Studio. So I will be working on the archives. I just got a nice email from James Zobel down at the MacArthur Memorial. He's made copies of all the photos that I brought him from my dad's cruise with the Nashville from 1943 to 1945. And I will be talking to him some more and sharing some more images as I pull them out of the archives that he hasn't got yet, and that'll be a lot of fun to see whether he incorporates them into the exhibits down in Norfolk there at the MacArthur Memorial, a place to visit if you haven't before in Norfolk, Virginia, and be sure and ask to see the Nashville archives. And there's an incredible model of the USS Nashville, the ship itself. It's about maybe 3-4 feet long and has all the details you could imagine in a great model ship. The spotter planes with their, they took off, those spotter planes would launch like with rubber bands or something, they'd stretch them back and boom, right off the ship. Quite an amazing technology they had in the World War II era. Not so much plastic, but a whole lot of good engineering. Well, good morning to everyone, and thanks for being with me this morning. There's the Nashville, USS Nashville, CL-43, and it was, my dad joined the ship in 1943 in June in San Francisco. It went directly to Mare Island, where you see it there, and from there straight into the South Pacific, where it engaged in the island hopping campaign with General MacArthur using it as his flagship for a great bit of that campaign. Well, subject matter this morning, we've been talking about the Fabian Society, and the last Mindfields that I did, I think is worth thinking about. Remember, what we identified was a small clique of elite people, or people that thought of themselves as elite, including George Bernard Shaw, who was, a fascist, and H.G. Wells, We didn't mention Jules Verne, but he's also one of them. The great authors of science fiction that we have today trace their roots directly to H.G. Wells, who was associated with, and we're not sure how deeply, but he was part of British intelligence way back in the 1880s and 90s, under King Edward, the which one was it? The sixth, the seventh? Anyway, those those guys were all tied up with the Freemasons, and the Freemasons are all tied up in the rat lines, and the rat lines that exist now are rat lines that have existed a long, long time. The same roots, maybe changed the the substance from opium to weapons or other dark stuff, anything they could do without getting publicity. So Andy's pulling up H.G. Wells there, somebody that you really need to know, and then you really need to know that even though his writing is accessible and not hard, and is very famous, they make movies out of The Time Machine and The War of the Worlds, but in fact, he is a propagandist of the first-rate propagandist who is teaching people that the future is going to be dystopian, that the future is going to have the elites and then the masses, and the masses are going to basically be ignorant. And that is why we run into things like James Corbett's great work on the Rockefeller foundations and the why oil conquered the world, how oil conquered the world, and the Green Revolution, which brings us up into the present day, where we have the three men in the Rogues Gallery posted by our guest last week, Richard Freeman. And that was a great show too. Richard Freeman with me on Friday night. That was last Friday, March the 19th? No, what was last Friday?
Last Friday.
Flying by fast. The
26th.
The 26th, right, of March. So the last Mindfields was the one I'm talking about, and you can see how we really dug into the Fabian Society with the help of some other researchers and video makers, a really excellent team of husband and wife called Truthstream Media, and I certainly recommend their stuff. I went to visit their YouTube channel and found a number of fascinating articles there. Well, let's talk about for a second what you guys think we should keep looking at here at McDuff Channel, other than my dad's career, which is always going to be the main topic that we study. Well, I think that the three guys, the Rogues Gallery, that would be Prince Charles, Prince Philip, and Julian Huxley. Those three guys deserve a lot more attention. And so Andy suggested we do a show on each of them. And I think that's a good idea. As we identify what appears to be the continuation of the British Empire's secret attempts to control the United States and to control the world. Now, let's talk a bit about the four-part series that I just concluded with four great writers and journalists and researchers from the Schiller Institute, which is the external branch of the LaRouche organization. And the Schiller Institute has been very active diplomatically over the years. Lyndon LaRouche himself was able to get right into the inner circle with President Reagan when they were trying to promote the program called Strategic Defense Initiative, or commonly called to perhaps a little disparagingly as Star Wars, because it was in fact not about wars. It was about peace. It was about having a common weapon up in the sky that would shoot down missiles aimed at other countries. And if Russia and the United States and, theoretically China and all the other powers that would have missile capability would sign into that and create a kind of a safety mechanism where that nothing could actually be done by throwing a nuclear tipped missile at another country, I think that would be a great thing. But that was, of course, quashed, as Reagan himself was when he got shot by the son of a Bush family friend. It should be noted, and Hinckley. I think he's still over there at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Southeast Washington, D.C. You may not know it, but you drive by it as you go from here into town. It sits up on the hill. A beautiful spot, a beautiful campus where we used to go up to the campus there and watch the fireworks every July 4th. If you could get up there into the campus, you'd had an incredible view because it's on top of a fairly high hill for the area. Great spot to look at a panorama of DC. So here's one big issue that came up as we were talking about the deep state and the great reset is the question of, China. Can we trust China? Is China a partner that we need to try to work with, whether we like him or not? It's hard to believe, as they say, that they've conquered poverty. Perhaps they've been able to eliminate the terrible starvation style of poverty, but I think the people there are still basically poor. And then there's the issue of freedom, the issue of the totalitarian nature of their government. I certainly would not want to have a totalitarian government in the United States. That's what the Brits want. And that's the opposite of what we should be doing as a country, in my opinion. Nevertheless, the detail of their work goes back for 40 or more years. And the idea that we could, with the Schiller Institute, make progress toward defusing all of this warlike stuff that's coming from the Biden administration is a very attractive idea to me. I also think they have diplomatic contacts around the world that are going to be very, very helpful as we develop our relationship. So basically, I've invited two new guests from the Schiller Institute's experts. One of them is Dennis Speed. Dennis Speed has been with LaRouche ever since the early 70s, along with Mike Billington, Paul Gallagher, Richard Black, and the and Richard from Friday night. Richard Freeman. My brain is not working real good this morning. I've had a little bit of just a little bit of an issue with some tinnitus in the ear, and it's just a little bit disturbing when I try to do my show. So that I need a couple mornings off. So you'll understand that just to reset a little bit. Hinkle Hamburgers was the slider place in Bloomington that Indiana University Chancellor Herman B. Wells loved. Okay. Is that Hinkle? Is that Hinckley? Is it the same name? I wonder. There's Dennis Speed. And his career has been astonishing. He still is very, very active and hosts most of their webinars that they have on Saturdays. So let me know if you have an opinion on whether I should continue with the LaRouche shows or not. I intend to get back to them after I get back from vacation. I'm going to do a vacation from April 10th to April 18th. So I will be off for that week, but that's still 2 weeks away. Going to go back down to the beach where we were in November and see what spring looks like down at in the Outer Banks, OBX.
If I get a vote, John, I'd vote to keep the train moving a bit. The Belt and Road train moving with the LaRouche Pack and the LaRouche organization or LaRouche Pub.
Mm-hmm.
There's whatever you want to call them. But I just want to, I vote to keep them going. I vote yes. So the rest of the audience out there, let us know. Send us an email. Vote yes or no, and we'll keep it rolling.
Yeah. Take some nice hikes in the woods and bring your binoculars. Great idea. We got a nice set of binoculars for the big planet conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn last fall, and we went out. It was some nice Celestron 10 by 50s. Got really great views with that. So that's a good idea, and I will take the binoculars and we'll go explore some of the some beautiful parks and woods in the eastern North Carolina area, but also just sit there and watch the waves roll in. That's really relaxing to me.
I've been waiting for you to bust out the telescope since I've been on Mystery Island. We haven't had a clear night here to be able to look at the stars and actually get into them a little bit. John, people don't know, is a amateur astronomer and is a big fan of the stars, and he's been trying to showcase some things to me, but the stars haven't aligned, as they say.
Well, the fault is not in our stars, Andy. It's in ourselves. I mean, we might as well admit it. But a lot of people like to look at the stars, not necessarily trying to blame them for their lives, but who knows? Maybe because the sun is in the cusp of Aquarius, that causes me to have a headache on a certain day. Who knows? I do not know.
Maybe it's because you've been hanging out with me for too long.
But Andy's put in a request that we do some astronomy down here, and hopefully this week we'll be able to get out. I've got a nice big 10-inch Dobsonian telescope that I will try to use, but also have a lot of fun with long lenses for the iPhones. I have a 60 times lens that I bought for I guess it was less than $100 for this lens, and it's like having a telescope that you can attach to a lens case for your iPhone. It's a lot of fun. Was able to get some pretty good pictures of Saturn and Jupiter, the convergence with just the iPhone, and that big lens that I'm able to attach to it with the right case. It has a 17 millimeter threads. You can thread it right into the case.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it holds it still. Okay, well, we got the LaRouche folks have been very generous with me with their time, and I really enjoy the work. So be sure and sign up for Harley Schlanger's daily blog. You can do that at harleysch@gmail.com. And we gave out a phone number for Marcia Maluk, who is working very hard to assist everybody at LaRouche with publication and publicity. So she's a great asset too. Sorry I don't have it at hand, but anyway, you can always let me know, and we'll get you in touch with anyone at the LaRouche organization. I really thought that Rich Freeman Friday night did a great job of injecting some hope. And I went out and looked around for Belton Road shows because I wanted to see what the big critiques are that you get from other channels. And I found this channel, forget his name, Simon something. He does a whole lot of historical, reviews, and this guy has like 290,000 views on his show on the Belton Road. And basically, he's got a British accent. He's got incredibly high production values. And I'm thinking, hey, this guy's a plant. This guy is from British intelligence trying to tell us bad things about Belton Road. So I studied his show. And what he does is he kind of casts aspersions, without being specific. He says, well, we don't know about China, what they're going to do with financing. They say they want to put this project in Pakistan or Bangladesh or one of these poor countries, the countries that can't really afford these big projects. And then the Chinese are going to finance it. And well, is that a way to take over the country by forcing them to have a greater debt load than they can carry, and then coming in and just saying, okay, well, we're going to take over. We're going to claim your country as a security interest. We have secured everything we do by your resources, your mining assets, your lumber, your trees, your fresh water, whatever we want. We're just going to come in and take it. And that's a real kind of a iffy thing. They didn't show me any paper. They didn't show me any contracts or anything that says that the countries are going to lose all their assets if they default on the loans. But that's the scary thing, is that, wow, China is going to end up owning Africa because they defaulted on a loan on the Belt and Road program, or, own the Middle East, or whatever, you want to spin up in your mind as a scary prospect. Well, this guy, Simon, wants to pump up those fears. But the fact is, we know that it is the United States and the British financial system, the same guys, the same people, the British City of London, the Washington military industrial complex, and Silicon Valley working together to undermine what the Chinese are trying to do and replace it with their own work. Well, what they've done is worse than anything they suspect of the Chinese. I mean, just look what they've done. They've privatized all the water in South America. Who doesn't Bush own, all the water in Brazil or something under this great reservoir, the underground water reservoirs. They get title to that. They own vast tracts of land. And how do they do it? Well, it's the old Perkins book, the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Well, he told it. He told us exactly what the Rockefeller plan is, and that's what you think they're trying to scare us about China doing exactly what the Rockefeller and allies have been doing all over the world on their own, and that is exactly the same thing. Install a dictator and tell the dictator, you can either sell out your country, or we'll give you the other option, which is the bullet. So do you want the sack of money? Which we're going to give you as long as you keep on cooperating with us, from anybody. Like any of these dictators that they've installed are not going to fight against the rape of their country, of taking away their resources and putting them under management and ownership of somebody connected already to these three elite institutions, Wall Street, City of London, and the Silicon Valley billionaires. This is what China is working against. And in the case of the Schiller Institute, they seem to favor the Chinese approach over the old American, the ugly American approach to development. So the people that have already created their pipeline plans don't like the idea of the Chinese coming in and bumping them aside. The people that already have their plans for how to get Middle Eastern oil into and gas into Europe and avoid and prevent Russia from selling the gas to Europe. Well, Russia is the most sensible, closest, easiest connection. And from the point of view of world peace and from the point of view of just simple cost saving, it probably should be Russia that's providing gas and oil to Europe to heat the homes and drive the machinery in the cars. But that's not the plan of our Rockefeller folks. They want to do their own thing. And that kind of brings me to George Webb's comment yesterday, which I thought was very astute, because we're talking now about this Ever Given ship, the Evergreen ship. And you've heard of it. You've seen pictures of it. And it's just, it's blocking the Suez Canal. Now, what oil goes through the Suez Canal? I'm just thinking aloud and following George's thinking, okay? If the oil that comes from the south end of the Suez Canal trying to go up into the Mediterranean and from there into Europe, if that is blocked, then who wins and who loses? And the answer is the oil that is coming up the Suez Canal on these huge ships, along with the container ships, but the oil is what I'm talking about, the big oil tankers. That is not the oil that our Western intelligence agencies have invested in or want to use to heat Europe in the winter. They want the Middle Eastern pipeline. It's called is it called the Eastern Med or the Transmed? I can't remember the name of it, but George Webb has reported on it. And that is the pipeline that kind of goes straight through Syria and out to the oil fields that are off of the Golan Heights and off of Israel, that Genie Energy, okay, controls all that. And if they can use that oil to go to Europe, then the deep state oil gets sold and they make profits and they make money, and the generals that have participated in the various coups and takedowns and clearing off the populations in order to build the pipeline routes, those people will be happy and benefit. This is the Atlantic Council's plan. And so is blocking the Suez Canal intentional, so as to require people to look for other sources and to think, hey, if they can block the Suez Canal so many times, maybe we better go with that Transmed pipeline and not worry about having to go through the Suez Canal anymore. And I think that's the essence of what George Webb was suggesting. He's not saying that's what's happening, but he's saying that's one way to look at it. If you wanted to stop oil from getting to Europe, unless it's your oil, then you want to shut down the other routes that are going to come. And that may be possibly what's going on there. Hey, thanks, Andy. So
took me a while, but I finally got it.
Yeah. Okay, so these ideas, and I'm not an expert on them, but going through Syria is the big issue. Why is there still war in Syria? Well, it's because President Assad does not agree to these pipelines. He doesn't want to put pipelines through Syria. And, it's their country, so why should we be able to force them to do it? Well, that gets back to the economic hitman again.
Can you move that away?
I'm sorry, what's that?
That's tapping.
This thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry you were on the pipeline talking about Syria.
Yeah, so this is what wars are about now. It's about pipelines, also known as rat lines. So George will be here in about 20 minutes to give us an update on what's going on. He will be broadcasting over on Neighborhood News Studio. Their channel has been knocked down and put back up so many times, and we really appreciate the perseverance of Aaron Adler and Andy DeBala to keep that very essential show going. So today at noon, we'll be welcoming George back here to Mystery Island Studio, where he will be presenting his latest research. So that's pretty much the show for this morning. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that tomorrow I will be off. Wednesday, I'm off anyway. Thursday 11 and Friday 11, I'll be off as we continue to work on the archives in preparation for my attempted biography of my father, which I've been, working on kind of for the past couple of years. But it's time to put it together, and so I'm going to take advantage of Andy's presence, who's so great at organizing things and putting up the proper pictures and the graphics on the computer so that you guys can enjoy the work that we do after I finish getting it all organized. You should see the studio right now. It's got boxes and things piled everywhere, and that'll be a couple of days job to put that together. Andy, anything in the chat you see that we should say hello to anybody? Hi, Jennifer Jensen. Glad to have you here. Michael Lorette. And as usual, you guys are sharing intelligence among yourselves, which I always look at after the show. So I look forward to doing that today. And Michael Lorette, you have trust issues with the British. Well, I think that might be the theme of McDuff Lives right now is we have those trust issues with the British, and reminds me of this really kind of sad but honest story of my mother coming home from her part-time job one day, and my dad was there first, and he was sitting on the floor with his sword that was awarded him by a British admiral, Admiral C.S. Holland. And he had that sword over his knee, and he said he was going to break it because it didn't mean anything. And that is, that's a true story. And you can imagine what that would mean to you if you had been handed that sword at the beginning of your naval career before World War II. And you then in the 1960s realized that, no, this is not a good thing. This British Empire is not a good thing. Well, with Irish roots, it's not an uncommon thing to find, but at the same time, it's hard to believe, that all of the great British institutions and their wit, the John Cleese, and all the wonderful cultural things that come to us from Britain, and the lovely British people, could possibly be a bad thing. But the way their government is run, it is this Fabian society casting a long shadow over us, changing the way the world works. If you see that video I did last Friday with the hammer, the world is going to be reshaped with our hammer. We're going to hammer it into the shape that we want it in. And what does that involve? It involves depopulation. It involves asserting ownership over all the assets in the world. And it involves basically enslaving most of humanity for the benefit of a few elites, the nobility, the royalty, the wealthy merchant class generally that have earned little and inherited much from their ancestors' exploits in rat lines, opium, weapons, takedowns, and creating wars in other countries, such as the U.S. Civil War, which turned to be a great boon for the British when they got rid of the American merchant fleet, courtesy of Admiral Sims and the Alabama. There's a great song, "Roll, Alabama, Roll," which is about the cruise of the CSS Alabama, which sank tons and tons of American merchant shipping using the false flag method. The false flag, that is the Fabian society. Through deception, we will win. We are wolves in sheep's clothing, and we have no interest in the rest of humanity. We're all in it for ourselves. That is true. Oh, I see you've got the Alabama up there. Yeah, one day I want to play that song for you because it really is a British song. This British people are singing praises of the Alabama. Why? Because it was built in Britain by a British shipyard. It's basically a British Empire vessel. Wonder, Andy, can you see on YouTube? Is there a song called "Roll Alabama"? There's Captain Sims. He grew up about 10, 15 miles from here over in on the western side of Charles County.
Roll, Alabama.
Yeah, Roll, Alabama is the name of the, it's a sea shanty.
Let's see.
Yeah, I guess we got time before George gets here.
I think we got this.
All right. See the one that says English? Yeah, play that one.
We got a 15-second ad. Bear
All right.
with
Well,
us.
I'll just talk for 10 seconds then. I used to sing a lot with some people that did sea shanties, and one of my favorite one is called "Rolling Down to Old Maui," and Maui being the island in Hawaii where they've been out whaling and are heading back to Maui to drink their rum and see their girlfriends.
Oh, I forgot I'm not connected to the Roadcaster anymore.
Oh, so we can't play the song.
No, we can. Here we go.
When the Alabama's keel was laid, roll, Alabama, roll. It was laid in the yards of Jonathan Ladd. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. It was laid in the yards of Jonathan Ladd. Roll, Alabama, roll. It was laid in the town of Birkenhead. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. Down Mersey way she sailed there. Roll, Alabama, roll. Liverpool fitted her with guns and men. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. Down Mersey way she sailed forth. Roll, Alabama, roll. To destroy the commerce of the north. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. To Cherbourg Harbor she sailed one day. Roll, Alabama, roll. To collect a share of the prize money. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. And many a sailor saw his doom. Roll, Alabama, roll. When the Yankee kisses hove into view. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. And a shot from the forward pivot that day. Roll, Alabama, roll. Blew the Alabama's gear away. Oh, roll, Alabama, roll. And off the 3-mile limit in 64. Roll, Alabama, roll. Well, she sank to the bottom of the ocean floor. Roll, Alabama, roll.
Well, that's the story of the demise of the Alabama. She was built in Laird's shipyard as she was fitted out in Liverpool. The British law was kind of, had some loopholes in it. The British said, no, you can't supply weaponry to a belligerent, but you can supply a ship that's completely ready for its weaponry. And so they built it, but they didn't put any guns on it until they got out past the 3-mile limit. And then from Liverpool, where they got the cannons. The ship was an amazing ship. It had a funnel that could be reseated, so that if you could actually mechanically make the funnel fold down where it wouldn't be seen, and people would think, well, that's not the Alabama, it doesn't have a funnel, or that's just a sailing ship, we don't need to worry about it. Once again, it's the false flag attack. You approach under a false flag, sailing up, as another merchantman, or perhaps, just sneaking up on people. Then you get close enough, you turn up, you bring up the smokestack, fire up the boilers, and at that point, you're no longer a captive of the wind, and you can sail directly at them, or steam directly at them, I should say. Roll up, take down your neutral flag, and put up the old Confederate battle flag, and demand a surrender, failing which you will blow them out of the water. And that's why we don't have merchant ships in the United States today. The best we have now are registered in Panama or other countries, because once they got rid of them through legislative means and working with people like the deep state creeps we've been thinking of, the ancestors of the Dulleses and the ancestors of the other folks, they were already on the ball working with Teddy Roosevelt to ensure that America never regained its merchant fleet, and we never have. So that's the story of the CSS Alabama, the song, an English folk song, not a Southern song, but a very famous sea chanty nonetheless. So that's our show for this morning. Thanks for being with us, and I'll see you tonight with the great Garland Nixon.